So we just started talking about it. J.B. Bickerstaff, fired from Cleveland. The Cleveland Cavaliers fired him in May. Would they get eliminated in the second round of the playoffs? So he's had success. I guess Cleveland just felt they should have performed better. I liked how Cleveland played basketball. I like how they came together as a team these last 2 years with a lot of players I really like, but weird fits. Like when we're talking Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, Karis LeVert, Jared Allen,
Isaac Okoro.
Who's the big guy who was drafted Cade's year?
Evan Mobley.
Evan Mobley. Yeah. But I thought they played really well. I thought they played team defense. He's creative offensively, but he's a defensive-minded head coach. And although the NBA is going scoring, I really like having some guy like this, both with experience and some creativity on offense and defense, to come and just reset this organization from a basketball standpoint.
Yeah, and sometimes, and some of the rumors I kind of seen out there is that maybe Bickerstaff, despite how good he is of a coach, didn't quite mesh with Donovan Mitchell, which is an individual that we just saw the Cleveland Cavaliers make a long-term investment to. Obviously, these are rumors. It's not something that I know on a personal level, so I don't want to put that out there as if it is gospel or truth. But those are some of the things that have kind of gone around the kind of interwebs. And so maybe Bickerstaff is a better fit for this Detroit Pistons team, which is kind of rudderless right now, without a player of the kind of that has that the level of aura that a Donovan Mitchell brings with him to an organization. So Bickerstaff will be able to come here, understanding that Trajan Langdon made this hire. Trajan Langdon made this hire. Everybody understands this. This is something where you got to do what this guy says do, because this is what the organization, this is what the CEO of the organization, the voice of the organization as it relates to Detroit Pistons basketball, has now stated. And so from that perspective, I am hoping that the players that are here and anybody that they see fit to bring in kind of follows his voice, because you guys are right. The defense that we saw, despite what some people say about his inability to make, offensive adjustments in a pinch, the defense that we saw and the steps that we need this Detroit Pistons team to take, J.B. Bickerstaff will help this team take those steps if they listen.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm in. When you pair that with the expected Cade Cunningham max, these two are now going to be tied together. They can start fresh. And although we probably said the same thing with Monty last year, like,
this one feels a little different.
It does. Just it does. A little bit. And I don't understand how people can say Monty, swim circles around J.B. Bickerstaff. I don't think Monty Williams is a bad coach. I just think last year, I think it's an outlier. And I think there was a million different things going on. His personal situation, it wasn't the right time. It should never have happened. I wish him well, but I like this new energy coming into the building. Yeah. When you add guys like J.B. Bickerstaff, we're talking about a 5-year max. We're bringing in veteran. Maybe it's a year. Maybe it's a half a year. There are going to be more contracts that the Pistons take on this year. But when you start bringing in guys like Tim Hardaway Jr., it just feels like we can actually start over. A lot of people have been maybe clamoring or thought we're going to have to move on from a Jaden Ivey or a Duren or a Beef Stew. They're still here, but it still feels like a new team is brewing. Does that make sense?
I think what it is the Detroit Pistons were in a position to take this step this way. So when you added Tim Hardaway Jr. to this collection of young talent with the cap space that you have in the basketball-minded Trajan, you feel really comfortable about what's going on. If you added Tim Hardaway Jr. to the team that, Troy Weaver stepped into, or the team before it that Ed Stefanski and Arn Tellem were kind of GMing and president of basketball operating, then you're not as excited about it. And so I don't think you throw away the positives that had happened before as if that they're not a part of the foundation. You're giving Cade the max right now. That came as a part of the previous foundation that just didn't get it done overall. But in terms of what Trajan's able to do, I'm believing that he has a better eye for what the talent on this team is than maybe we believe.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what that represents. That he's like, Jaden Ivey, Jalen Duren, Asar Thompson, because we still don't know what's going to happen as free agency plays itself out. Maybe Trajan Langdon sees something in these young guys, and he's like, let's just bring in a couple of the right vets, like they tried to do the previous couple years, but let's actually get vets that can play. Let's get vets that will contribute. Let's get vets that mesh and fit a little bit better with our young talent to give them their best potential to succeed. Because we see these other squads like the Orlando Magic going out there and getting just the right types of vets We see the Houston Rockets going out there and getting just the right types of vets, surrounding the young player. It's not even like they're going out there and, you know, getting 5, 6, 7 new additions. They just adding like 1 or 2 players, and their teams are just taking off. I'm hoping Trajan Langdon has more of an eye for that if the patient route with the young players is the way they're going to go.
Yeah, and that's really all it is, because he's proven that if you feel the right kind of team with the right kind of players, he can't turn this into a winning situation. His last 3 years with Cleveland, all winning seasons. Of course, we know about the playoff mishaps, but, you know, at first I was kind of iffy on it. Not to say I hated it. I didn't hate it, but, you know, I had to digest it a little more. And then after, you know, looking into it, I feel better about this hire. To me, yes, Monty may be a better coach on paper, but JB Bickerstaff is the better fit. And for one, he wants to be here, so that's automatically gets you probably more wins than you had last year. He wants to be here, and yeah, man, he came from a lot of shit situations, for lack of better words, man. I think he started with the Rockets right behind the Kevin McHale firing, then in Memphis behind the David Fizdale situation. Does a year there, gets fired. So while he's had a lot of success, it's going to be, you know, up to him to prove that, you know, he's more the last 3 years than earlier in his career. So
they took over for John Beeline.
Yeah.
And that ushered in a rebuild for the Cavaliers, and it was ugly for a couple of years. And Ryan's reaction, I hope this actually was enough background. I was going to tee up Kool-Aid for it, but KG just crushed the history of JB Bickerstaff. But he had taken over for that mess that was, you know, the post-mortem of John Beeline in Cleveland, and really truly ushered that rebuild into what I think is a team that can contend consistently in the Eastern Conference for a couple of years, depending on what they do. I like that roster a lot. And maybe Darius Garland, maybe he wants to follow JB Bickerstaff to Detroit.
Maybe.
And we'll for me personally, I liked candidates like maybe Sam Cassell, who just won a championship with the Boston Celtics. We've talked about these candidates on these airwaves plenty of times, Brad Hendricks. Other people like Chris Quinn as well. I was hoping the Detroit Pistons could go out there and take a swing at that. Maybe some first-time coaches like a Sean Sweeney. But this, to me, signals that maybe the Detroit Pistons have some place and plan to help lead these young players. They don't need a coach who's learning on the fly. Any of the young players you're going to keep, I believe they need a guy like a JB Bickerstaff.
They absolutely need stability at this point in their franchise. And you're getting a guy who is way more relatable to the young talent than Monty probably ever will be or ever was. So I'm really looking forward to that. Like you said, he's defensive minded. You have a Ron Holland, you have an Asar Thompson on this team. So I'm interested to see how he works with all these pieces. Of course, there's more work to be done still, but looking forward to what he can maybe bring, man. He's got a fire too. He ain't no slouch, man. We know about the videos of him arguing with refs on the sideline as well. He's got a little fire to him.
I like it.